economic policies or such. But Christian Democrats and Socialists were at the initiative of the integration process. And so they always tried to find a deal against the other one. Because the Liberals were quite critical against European integration, the Greens sometimes, the Left also, and the Eurosceptic as well. So for a long time inside the European Parliament, the divide was not between left and right, but it was between pro and anti-European. And so those were able to find the majority because they are holding nearly 500 seats together, so they are able to find the majority. The second reason why they are able to find those majorities is because they have also some, I would say, organic interest to do so. There is a clear domination of the European Parliament by the two large groups, and they have a long tradition of managing together the institution. Because the European Parliament is working along a rule of proportionality. You have two ways of ruling a parliament. In some parliaments, it's the majority which is taking everything. This is, for instance, a British tradition. You win the election, you have the majority, and then you will take everything. You will take the presidency or the chair of each parliamentary committee, and you will take the better offices, and the opposition will just be there to cry. And another tradition is the proportional tradition that you have in some country, like you have that in Belgium, in Austria, in Lebanon, in South Africa, or a country like that, where you just say, okay, all groups are legitimate to be here, and we must find a way to manage the parliament with everybody, and so there are very sophisticated rules to share the resources of the parliament, to share the chairs of the parliamentary committee, to share the reports, to share the offices, budget, etc., etc. And that's what's happening in the European Parliament. The idea was to make everybody happy. We're going to make things work in that way. And so there are some very complicated rules inside the internal regulation of the European Parliament, which is a very thick book. Internal regulation of the European Parliament is around 300 pages, and everything is put in very much detail, how you're going to share the speaking time, how you're going to share the offices, etc., etc., between the group regarding the respective size of the various groups, so to say, it's democratic. And yes, but when you apply that rule, if you are two large groups, then you have the power, because a large group always choose first what report they want, they always choose first the officers they want, and so they are able, if they have a deal, to control very much the parliament. And that makes the other groups completely crazy, saying this is undemocratic, all those federalists or pro-European are gaining all the power inside the European Parliament, and it's a fake democracy because they're not able to do anything. Anyway, it was very efficient on the way the European Parliament was able or not to exert its power, because the Christian Democrats and Socialists were able to build compromise. They were not a coalition, but on each text they had some routine of discussion and negotiation, trying to find a solution. And it works not all the time. If you look at data, the coalition, so the majority on a text is between Christian Democrats and Socialists in 2/3 of the cases. In the other cases, you have such things like, for instance, Christian Democrats, we find a deal with the Liberals, some of the Greens, maybe some Eurosceptic, and part of the Socialists, the German Socialists, and I don't know, Romanian Socialists, and then they will be able to find a majority. So on each text, they're trying various solutions to build a compromise. In some other cases, it's the Socialists with the Left, the Green, etc., etc. But today, it's difficult to find a majority at the left side of the European Parliament. This makes the deliberation of the European Parliament something really rich, because it's not just a case of applying always the same coalition and just voting on the text. It's a way of looking at text and trying to find a solution. And this makes also the European Parliament very influential in the decision-making process, because the European Parliament is not saying yes or no to the proposal of the Commission. They're trying to build a consensus of a proposal. So they are very often tabling amendments, changing things, asking for other things, etc. And so that they have a strong impact over the system. Another thing to underline is that the European Parliament does not have political links with the Commission. Because the Commission is not, it's a strange body. It's not a government, it's not a bureaucracy, it's not a technocratic body, it's a bit altogether. But the commissioners, they are chosen by the member states. And each member state is choosing a commissioner which is close to its own political position. So inside the European Commission, you have people from the left, you have people from the right. There is no homogeneity. And it's not like a government saying, okay, we are the Commission and we are going to do liberal policy or socialist policy. They are just saying, okay, we are going to do the best we can. And so there is no real link with the European Parliament. So the European Parliament has gained power to have some influence over the choice of commissioner, and the European Parliament now is voting, is approving the composition of the Commission, but mainly it's approving it in a technical way, saying, okay, those guys, they seem able to do the job, they seem to be honest and competent, and so, okay, for this Commission. That there is no political link, and in this respect, the European Parliament is a body which is very independent. So again, we must pay attention to the role of those political groups, like places that are able to build the compromise within the European Parliament, and also places which are where it's possible to overcome the national divisions. Very often, specialists of the European Parliament just say, by looking at roll call votes, by looking at the way people behave in plenary, okay, European Parliament is just a matter of deal between political groups, and so there is no national logic inside the European Parliament. But this is crazy, because MEPs, they are elected in a country, they are national of a country, and they are not becoming pure Europeans from one day to another. They are not making their whole career in Brussels, they are just elected for 5 years, maybe sometimes they do it 2 times, but they are not spending a lot of time in Brussels. So they are national, they are concerned by national interest, and they sometimes they are very, they're trying a lot to prove that they are defending national interest in the European Parliament. But the fact is that they do it very much inside the political groups, and they're not really able to do that in the plenary. So those political groups are really the place where it's possible to build a compromise, to find a deal between the national delegation. Not on each text, on some texts, sometimes the national dimension is not very important. But when you start to speak about budget, about regional policy, about agricultural policy, fishery policy, those policies are much linked to national interest, and so then